Last week in Unscripted, we touched upon women empowerment, and this week we are here to talk about animal rights and shed light upon the very, very important issue of animal abuse. We live in a society where the word animal is used as an insult, and where we just throw stones at stray dogs and cats just because it's fun. Today at Unscripted, we are here to talk about all the rights animals should be given because it is time that we finally speak for those who cannot speak for themselves.
Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Ayesha Chundrigar and I'm here with Shanze Usher. As Shanze mentioned, animal abuse has become very widespread right now, but it is neglected here in Pakistan. So to talk about this issue further, I would like to introduce our guest star for today, Ms. Ayesha Chundrigar, founder of ACF Animal Rescue Organization. Assalamualaikum, ma'am. How are you doing? How is quarantine?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, shukran,
We're good, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I want to start off with to address those who don't know about ACF. What would you like to tell them about the foundation and the work it does?
Okay, so in a nutshell, I guess what we do is the vision of ACF, which started 7 years ago, is to help the most neglected, ignored, and abused living beings in our society. And जब मैंने ये शुरू किया था, obviously at that time and even now, when you think of the most ignored and neglected and abused, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is animals, because हमने यहाँ पे कभी really animals का कुछ देखा नहीं है ever since Pakistan was created, actually. So there hasn't really been any concrete steps taken to helping animals, and somehow or the other my work kind of just became more about animals, and it kind of became like a gap in society that I saw, because this isn't what I do. Like I'm now fairly, knowledgeable about this, but I was a psychotherapist. I am a psychotherapist. I was a journalist, but then I saw that there was this very big gap in society that no one has really paid attention to. And it's a really important part of our moral fabric as a society, and how are we ignoring it? So this was a cause that I had to take up, and that's a little bit about why we do what we do. Now, what we do itself is we have a sanctuary, we have a rescue service, so we have a very active hotline number. Hamara social media बहुत active hai. People call us every day. They message us for rescue cases, be it abuse cases. We get all kinds of cases. Like you'll get, donkeys who've had acid thrown on them, or who have a broken leg, who've been dumped in the garbage because the donkey owner, he's of no use to the donkey owner anymore. You'll get kittens who've been run over by cars. You'll get dogs whose ears and tails have been cut off. Puppies who've been again run over by cars or motorbike or something, who are paralyzed, who are just left in the middle of the road to die. You get so many poison cases, shooting cases, like you were saying. The abuse is crazy, and I didn't know myself that the abuse is so much in this country, or that we have such a violent attitude towards animals, until I properly started studying the trends of the kind of cases we get in through ACF. We've rescued over 6,000 animals now, I think, and the kind of cases that we get in, it's actually really scary and very terrifying that people around us are able to stoop to these levels of abuse and think it's funny, or don't even think it's worthy of anything, and that it hasn't ever really been spoken about. So then there's the rescue service, and the sanctuary serves like a hospital, an old age home, a special needs home, an orphanage. So we have all different sections that try to meet the demands. Abused and abandoned pets, so we try to meet the demands of whatever we are seeing in society, and there's no guidelines to guide us. So I've been kind of making the guidelines as we go along, because this is such a new concept, and I love that you guys have taken this on and you're talking about it, because you guys are going to really bring about the change. This is just something, there's a little bit of something, but it's all of you who are going to do all of this. So I'm really glad you guys are talking about this.
Yeah, and we hope to collaborate with ACF to directly do some projects as well. Right now, that's what
I would love that. That would be really cool. I would really like that.
We're just trying to raise awareness. Like, for example, the next thing we were going to ask you was about the veterinary practices here in Pakistan, how it's not even that known, and then the poor practices that are there. So how does ACF directly tackle that in any way? Like you were mentioning something about a hospital or something like that for vets?
So what we do is the way that we run our organization, because it's kind of like you're running an ER of a hospital nonstop, right? And the thing is, the patients don't necessarily leave. So then you have to convert the hospital. So like the patient bed then turns into, okay, now this patient has to now go into our orphanage because it's a little paralyzed puppy who we can't put out. He's not going to survive on the road. So it's about constantly, being on your toes and constantly changing things as you need to do it. So the way that we've made it work is that we've done a lot of training with vets abroad via Skype. Shelter medicine is an extremely different ball game that I had no training in either. So, but the vets we have are really fantastic, and we keep looking for more such people to come on board who they've made the extra effort to go to the senior vets in Karachi to train with them. We've sent them to Lahore for training. We've had a lot of these Skype sessions for training. I've taken a few members of my team to abroad to study, say, donkey behavior, to learn a lot of things. So, so slowly, because the aim is, the way that I see it, that if you're going to do something, either you do it the best way possible. Like my brand is excellence. Either it's excellent or I won't put my name on it and do it, because I don't believe in mediocre. I think it's a very bad concept. If you just say, yeah, it's fine, and just go through, which is what I think you're talking about, that a lot of things just pass by as, yeah, okay, fine, this is what is just happening, so just let it happen. No, it's about turning something mediocre into something excellent. Anyone can do something. It's the execution of the thing. It's how you do it, how well you do it is what actually counts. And in that process, I can say that our vets, so we have an in-house vet team, we have an in-house rescue team, in-house management team that also rehabilitates the animals, deals with all the rescues, because there are about 650 animals at a time, roughly, and every day you get in between 5 to 20 new rescues as well. So it's so difficult sort of managing this load. So we do have a staff of about 45 people, and these are all, these really amazing people, the vets, the managers, everyone, they, were all working as something or the other, but they saw this cause and they were like, this is something pretty cool and different. And, we're lucky enough that over time we started making money, that we have to pay salaries. It's only fair. It's a full-time job. And it's really good to incentivize people into doing something good and something different, that's especially for society. So in that way, now I can proudly say that our team is like excellent. Like our rate of, like the way we can bring animals back from the brink of death. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of our before and after photos on our social media that we put up. Even I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Like, our vets and my management team, they are these brilliantly dedicated, amazing girls. I mean, this is not a one-man show. I could never do all the stuff that everyone does. So, literally, so everyone has their roles, and we created like a proper systematic operation as to how it runs. And it's safe to say that, we've reached a point where I am so proud of my team and the way that they do the work and how well they can actually take care of animals. And, the kind of cases who, an average vet would just say, just put the animal down. But we're like, no, if the animal is not in pain, he's eating a little bit and he's drinking water, there's a chance that he can make it. And, about 98% of the time, those animals just bounce back and they're still living with us like 3-4 years down the line, happily, totally forgotten what all they went through. Now they're like all happy and chilling out, and it's really incredible. So, I think that is, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's a
so
little bit. So I can say that we are, sorry, carry on.
no. Yeah, okay, so what I was saying is just, I really admire this mentality and attitude of yours. It is obviously not a one-man show. You have such a big organization, but I think that your attitude has a very, very vital role to play in it. The fact that you don't want anything mediocre, especially for a topic like animal abuse, just that no one really talks about. And even if someone talks about, they don't deem it worthy of their emotions, maybe. But no one really talks about it. And since you mentioned about the foundation of ACF, did you face any opposition while you were making this into as big of an organization as it is now?
all the time. I face so much opposition even now. You see, and this is the thing. I think a lot of people think this is like something like, we've established ourselves. I still don't feel like we've established ourselves. I am still every day I am so scared that I don't want to mess up in any way, that because I have like the responsibility of 650 animals, new animals every day, 45 staff members. So I'm always so worried, and I'm always so, I'm always thinking about every step I'm taking. I read on every topic under the sun to try to know what the right thing to do is, because I wouldn't want to mess this up in any way. So, number one, I don't feel like we are that established. I still feel like we are a startup and we're new, and I'm still learning every day on the job. And, as much as we are good at some things, because this has never been done before in Pakistan, we are still, like we learn on the job. There's no, acha, this was the way it was done, so that's what we have to do to make it work. There is no guideline to fall back on, right? Like in school, you have like past papers, right? To kind of see what it is that you are going to be getting in your exam. There is nothing to look at, because Pakistan is such a different environment. So you can learn a lot from, other organizations abroad and all. But this is, and I'm not really trying to just make this into a shelter. The way I wanted to do this was make it more into a movement of kindness, and that's the way I see it. I don't see it as it was just about, because I think what animals and what we try to do through our social media and all is try to show people that all of us can be kind, and true kindness and true empathy comes from when you do for those who can't do anything for you. So when you do for those who are so vulnerable and who can't give you anything back, the contentment and the inner peace that one gets out of helping even one life that maybe the world would think is meaningless. But if you help that one life, honestly, it just changes your entire perspective when you see that animal suddenly change and go from this hopeless, defeated, broken soul into this happy, jumping, running around, little silly dog. It's really lovely. And it's these things I feel that really build character in people, that, honestly, because this has changed me as a person. I've learned so much through this work and through animals, just about what being a good person is all about. And it's really helped like in other aspects of my life. And I really feel like this is, and because I'm a therapist, I kind of see, how it impacts human behavior, how everyone can work together. And I think animals really do have that. So as far as the opposition goes, this was a little idea as to, where I am at mentally right now. But as far as the opposition goes, that's the thing. We face it every day to date. Since day one, I think the biggest thing is either you find people who will from the beginning just be like, no, it's a really bad idea, don't bother, no one cares about people, no one is going to bother about animals, you're never going to get anywhere with this, you're a journalist, stay a journalist, focus on this, you can make some good money, don't try to do something so out of the box, this is Pakistan, it's never going to work, you're a girl. I was 24 when I started, and they were like, what do you know about this? I'm now 32, so it's been a good 7 years that, now I've become a lot more different, but I was extremely naive. I wasn't living over here. I moved back because I was like, I need to make a change. I want to do something. I'm not feeling entirely content with the work I'm doing as a journalist, and, maybe I'd like to do something different. So I had to choose. I was like, should I stay abroad? Should I, get the cushy job that I know I'm getting and live a more relaxed life, where I'll maybe make some kind of an impact, but not to the extent that would make me content? Or am I going to give up everything, and because I'm still young and I have the energy, and go back and try to actually make a difference where I'm in the middle of the field making the difference rather than outside reporting on it. So I was like, I think I'm going to give up everything and go back. It was a very reckless move, and then I came back, and then there was all of the, all this noise comes, because anyone who tries to start something new, and always remember this for all of you as well, you will always hear 1,000 voices saying, don't do it, because people are afraid of change. It's not something that people are okay with. So it takes a lot to, and it takes a lot of proving yourself to be able to do it. So proving myself because I'm, they were like, you're a young girl, what do you know anyway? You're just emotional. It's just animals, it doesn't matter. So, it was a lot of noise. And then even when I started, there was and when we had to move like 4 locations with like 250 animals in tow in the span of 1 year, because although we were like legally set and everything was okay, people in the area had a problem that how dare you take care of jungly gande animals, like how dare donkeys get taken care of. Like they actually got mad that you're treating dogs so well. Why are you feeding dogs? You should be feeding humans. And that's the thing. For me, as a therapist, I work with humans and animals, and I never saw that there's a difference that, oh, this is a human, we must work over here. This is an animal, we must not work over here. It's the comparison of where, conditional empathy or selective empathy. That's a very toxic trait in a person. When you think like that, your world becomes very small. The right way to think is, he's suffering and he's a donkey, and he's suffering and he's a little boy. I can help both because they both are suffering in the same way. They might be different species, but they both are suffering. So why I'm not going to pick who's more worthy of not suffering. I think anyone who suffers deserves to be helped. So that's the mindset I was going with. And the biggest criticism I face to date is, why are you helping animals and not humans? And, I keep trying to explain to people that if you don't learn how to respect the most vulnerable, if you don't learn to respect nature, like even I learned over time. I didn't know all of this stuff when I started. I honestly kept learning as ACF kept growing. And if you don't do that, you're not really going to be able to respect yourself or people around you or really know what empathy is. Because all of us, what we do is we mistake sympathy for empathy, right? Sympathy is when you look at someone from a distance and you're like, oh man, I feel so bad. That sucks. Like, I can't believe he's going through that. But what is empathy? Empathy is when you literally put yourself in the skin of the other person or the animal, and you like walk around in their skin. So like you literally feel what they are feeling. And the problem is that a lot of us over here, we've been desensitized to such a level since we were kids that we don't look at it like that. Like, we've all seen donkey carts on the road. We've all seen some stick that the donkey owner is holding in his hand, and we look away, right? And it's the looking away part that is dangerous. And that's what I never understood as a kid as well, that how can we look away? He's beating, like he's abusing a living being on the road and no one's going to say anything. Like, what? I don't know, in my head these things don't register as normal. And then I was constantly made to feel like, no, this is normal, you're overreacting. I was like, no. So the biggest opposition I faced is honestly this attack upon my perception of reality. And that's like the scariest opposition, because when you're made to feel like you're crazy, or you're made to feel like you're doing something that is so ridiculous and meaningless, and then you start thinking, oh my God, am I really messing up? Like, what am I being stupid? So it's that. And what I had to learn is to build this kind of self-belief that, no, Ayesha, what you're doing is actually what is right. This is why I read everything. I try to learn everything, which I wish I did from my school days, which I'm recommending to all of you. I'll give you some great titles of books to just start reading, but learn and read everything you can about the world.
I agree with the perception that you look away. That's what we're here for, to break that perception, because we don't believe in it. That's why we're really glad to speak to you. Actually, it's changing the way we think as well, and we hope for our viewers it'll be great also. And just to continue, so about like the way stray dogs or stray cats are treated over here, like even if something like throwing a stone at them, would you like to say something about that? Like, there's so many incidents on the news, even how animals are killed just for because unke liye jagah nahi hai or whatever, so like,
Yeah.
Which is so sad, but it's happening all around us. So how do you think we can actually either change the way we think, or what would you like to say about that?
So there are a few things over here. I think something that's very good point about the stray dogs is that that there's no space for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest problem as a nation that we have, is we are very intolerant to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Either it has to be just like us, or there's no space. I think that's something that is bigger than just street dogs. I think that is something that is in our psyche overall, that there's a lot of intolerance when it comes to anything that is different to us. And the beauty of life and living is difference. You know, if you don't have that, your world doesn't expand and you don't learn. You only learn and grow as a person if you embrace difference. You know, you don't have to agree with it, but it's about embracing it and understanding it. That is what empathy is. So what's really lacking in our society is empathy, right? So as far as street dogs go, honestly, the natural habitat of a street dog is the street. Now, that is a, you know, बहुत लोगों के लिए it's a very strange concept. What? Street? But street is where the houses are. But no, before you built your house over here, this was just land. These dogs have been here since before Pakistan was even created. You know, this is the way they keep reproducing. And they've been here this whole time. And just because you are building houses and building somewhere doesn't mean these dogs are just going to leave. This is their natural habitat in a way that we are taking away. And because they keep reproducing within their genetic code, they've become scavengers. You know, they are scavengers by nature. They are just regular dogs like any fancy breed. They just happen to reproduce and live on the street. You know, that is the biggest difference, but they are just like any other dog. And the problem is this perception that, number one, they have rabies, right? Now, not all street dogs. In fact, I have to date not met a street dog that has rabies. But yes, there are some who might have rabies, but these are going to be dogs who are not even in urban areas. Right? Now, how do dogs get rabies? Dogs get rabies because they get bitten most probably by a bat. That is a rabies carrier. It's the bats that are rabies carriers, and bats live more in rural areas where there's not so much, you know, construction and all of that. And that's where if they bite a dog, it'll be really far away. Then that dog will start foaming at the mouth, red eyes. You know, it goes straight to the brain and hits the immune system and the brain. And what happens is, and within 10 days, the dog will anywhere hide. He's going to bite on anything and everything he sees, not just a human. He's going to bite on a piece of wood. He'll bite on plastic. He'll bite on anything because it just hits the brain. And what happens is within 10 days, that dog dies anyway. So number one, this myth that all street dogs have rabies is completely inaccurate. It is not true at all. So that is something that, you know, if you kids start talking about it, that'll be fantastic because, you know, it's really important that people, this is something in our culture that we have, you know, like if you think of stray dog, you think rabies. That's a very wrong idea that we have. And it's so unfair because so many innocent, amazing dogs, and I know because I literally just have street dogs, you know, and they're just regular dogs and they're so much fun and they're so misunderstood. And that's what I hate. Like, how can you misunderstand someone this much that you'll just end up killing them? So, and then another thing that people get confused with that, oh, but a dog bite is the same as a rabies bite. And no, a rabies bite is if the dog actually has rabies. A dog bite is if the dog is being aggressive, right? Then the third problem comes is that, yeah, but the dog bit me, so kill the dog, you know? But what we need to understand is, but dog bites is a societal problem that has been going on for many, 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 many decades. Okay. Street dogs have got it built into their DNA now. It's now part of the genetic code to constantly be in survival mode. It's like a fight or flight mode. And they are always living in fear. Because the only thing they're used to on the street, be it the mother dog or her puppies, what they're used to is no food, no water, thirsty, growling stomach, someone picking up a stone, you know, doing this kind of a motion towards them to scare them away. When that gets built up over time in new generations, that same fear gets instilled, be it animal or human. You carry these things in your genes as well when it happens to such a large amount. This is a societal problem where us superior beings have to look back and be like, wait a second, dogs, how come when you are nice to these dogs, they're still not aggressive? How come they become these fun, happy animals? Why is it that only some of them are aggressive? But okay, maybe that's because I've been aggressive towards them, or I have a certain way of being, or the average way that a person acts over here is aggressive towards the dog. So all the dog knows is aggression. right? What's the difference between a human and an animal? The main thing that we have that animals don't is that we can distinguish between, who has come to hurt us. So we will direct our anger back at that same person, but we will not direct anger at another person who's maybe not hurting us. A dog cannot distinguish between the person who's hurting him or like an innocent person who's just walking on the road. So if the innocent person who's walking on the road is just walking and the dog comes and bites him, it sucks. It's the most unfair thing for the innocent person because he didn't do anything for a dog to come and bite him. But the dog is playing off, oh my God, this is a threat, this is danger. This is the way I've been treated, so I got to bite him before he attacks me. This is what survival mode is. If I'm in survival mode, I'm going to think the same way too. This is where empathy comes in. And this is the problem that we don't look at this perspective. We just think, dog bite, just kill the dog off. Violence isn't the answer. Also, the more you kill these dogs, the more they are going to reproduce, which is why poisoning and shooting has not worked thus far, because dogs, again, they get the survival mode. It's an evolutionary trait of all animals, even humans, that when you feel like your life is in danger on a collective level, you will end up reproducing more to as a survival mechanism of your species. This is a scientific fact. So this is what these dogs do also, right? So it actually doesn't reduce the population. The only way of doing that is to neuter and spay the dogs. And over time, and that's what we should do for our pets as well, just neuter them. There's no good homes as such that your pets are your pets, puppies or kittens are going to be able to go. There are very few homes in Pakistan that are actually going to keep them so well. And if you're just having puppies or kittens because they're cute, what about their future? That's a very selfish way of looking at it. And for street dogs and cats, you need to neuter them as well. You neuter them, you spay them. It's actually very good for their health. And naturally, over the span of, say, there are 50 dogs in one area, if you neuter all those 50 dogs, within a year, those 50 dogs will go down to 20 dogs. And then those 20 dogs the next year will go down to 0 dogs. That's the beauty of it, because you're naturally letting them live out their life. And that's how, and you just let them go. And that's how, if people want to clean the streets of dogs, like everyone says, this is the way to do it. You naturally clean the streets, which means no more dogs will encroach that territory. They will not be reproducing more because they can't. And that's how naturally the street dog population, all other countries, has even reduced that much. So that is the only tried and tested solution. And the problem is that because it's new, because it's different, because it doesn't have immediate effects that you can see right there in front of you, the way you can see your dog bite, people don't have that concept of foresight to see, okay, this in the long run, this will benefit us, right? And that's where you guys, need to start helping people understand what, what long-term planning is, what long-term thinking is. And this is going to benefit in all aspects of life if people start looking not for immediate gratification or immediate results, but looking into long-term results. Sorry,
Okay,
my
so,
lectures.
Okay, so other than pet animals, Bilkul, I agree with everything you said. Bilkul, you're completely right about pet animals. But other than pet animals, I don't know if you've seen this on social media during the pandemic, but there a lot of posts regarding के अब लोगों को समझ आ रहा है what animals go through, and there are these pictures of like a tiger caged in a zoo, or like in a bear in like this hole that's dug up for him, and that is his home.
Yeah.
So, including zoo animals, the way zoo animals are treated, all the way to maybe circus animals and how they are trained and treated just for the sole purpose of our entertainment. And the fact that we're not even, I mean, in the liberal society that is growing in Pakistan, we talk so much about consent for humans. We don't talk about consent for animals at all. We're using them for our entertainment. We're using them for our entertainment. Thank you. So what do you have to say about that? We're using them for our entertainment and so just so a kid can go to the zoo and be like, oh, look, there's a share and there's a tiger, and that's it. And then he goes home and that tiger is living there. That is his home. It's a wild animal. It's not supposed to be caged. So what do you have something to say about that?
So I think the biggest thing, the way I see it, is that yes, I think over not just in Pakistan but across the world, we use animals as a means to an end for us. And we use them as a means because we normally see animals like even a donkey or a zoo animal. You'll see them as an object of for our entertainment. You don't even see them as flesh and bone that has the ability to have feelings, to suffer, who have the same, who require the same mental stimulation and physical stimulation that we do. I think what people were talking about in COVID is simply that, we are locked down in isolation. It's hardly isolation. We have social media, we can still talk to our friends. It wasn't like, we were completely cut off. But even this little bit of cutting off for these last few months, it's had such an impact on, at least on my mental health. Like I can feel there's a really big difference, right? Um, so for animals, I think it literally just gives a little, very tiny smidgen of a glimpse into what an imprisoned animal actually goes through, And yeah, you're absolutely right. When a kid goes to the zoo, they're not even seeing the animal in their natural habitat. My biggest thing is all animals, we should enjoy them definitely, but we should enjoy them in their natural habitats. Just like I'm saying the street is the natural habitat of a street dog, right? Obviously, a zoo or a cage is not a natural habitat of a lion. So even if a kid is going to the zoo, he's not going to be learning anything because he's going to be not seeing the animal, the gorilla or the whatever in their natural habitat. So they are not acting the way they would naturally act. They are acting like confused innocent prisoners who don't know what is going on, and they are just stuck alone in this cage, and that's not natural. So what is a kid learning? Are we just keeping them there just so you can see what a gorilla looks like? Then you can go online and Google gorilla and do that and go watch a 3D movie. So many things have changed. We have so many options now. These are not necessary things. I think at the beginning when people started all of this, maybe the intention was good, right? Because we didn't have social media, we didn't have access to information so easily. But yes, over time in 2020, we are so much in the new age of technology and AI. We don't need all of this stuff. It's really expensive to manage and maintain, and you can actually reach so many more people by doing something in a more positive way on online. So yeah, I mean, this is just the idea of confining any kind of an animal. Like for example, even at our sanctuary, we have like a 1 acre sanctuary, but the way I've tried to design it is that everybody is open and free. I don't like the concept of cages. The only time animals are in cages at the shelter is, number one, if it's feeding time, and we got to separate animals to feed them individually, which we do. Number two, only if they have just come in, they're new rescues and they have wounds that we can't have them go out and suddenly start scratching and rolling around or whatever. So then they're in a cage until they heal. So that's number two. And number three, if an animal has behavior issues, and we have to slowly rehabilitate him to get him to connect with the other animals and so on. But otherwise there's no concept of cage, because it is so wrong. Then I should not do this job if I'm planning on just keeping like a whole bunch of cage animals just to look at like this. That's really not what it is. It's about letting them be free. And that's the beauty that I learned about animals doing this, is that when you, just like with a child, when you give them a safe environment, a secure environment where they know their basic needs are met, like they know they'll get food twice a day, they know they'll always have water, they know they can be naughty and they're not going to be hit or beaten or anything, and they know they're just going to get love unconditionally from us. You give that to any animal, and that, like a domesticated animal, and that animal will thrive, right? For a wild animal, they are called wild for a reason. They feel all of this when they are in the wild. So it is a whole other ball game that, yes, 100%, they should be in the wild. They need to. Every animal deserves to be in the natural habitat, and in the same way dogs deserve to be in their natural habitat as well, which is the street. If the streets became safe enough that I could shut down this sanctuary and just keep the sanctuary for really abused cases or abandoned pets or something, that is what my goal is. My goal is, I don't want to keep collecting animals. That means I failed, because I'm not actually bringing about such a change in society where I make the streets safer for these animals. That is when I'll be like, Aisha, now you're succeeding. Right now, this is another reason why I don't feel like we've established anything yet, because I need to see the change come in the mindsets of people. Where I go for a walk in the evening and I go on the streets and I see collared dogs just hanging out, doing that thing, no one is bothered, then I'll be like, now I've achieved something. But until then, until you see that kind of a change, I don't believe collecting hundreds and hundreds of animals. Like, we just have so many because the need is that much, because the streets are that intolerant right now. But my aim is to make the streets safer so I don't have so many and ACF goes out of business. Like, then I'll be like, oh, thank God. And that is what my goal is. And that's what I'm hoping to achieve. Then I'll be like, okay, we are successful.
Yeah, inshallah you will be, and hopefully small organizations as like us, like a student-run organization, will help work with you and hopefully change the entire perception of the next generation.
Just to add to that, to people who are watching, who are like me, who are petrified of dogs and cats, they should still see. I'm still here because I still believe that even if I'm not comfortable around the cat that's in our canteen, I mean, this is ridiculous that we're thinking about even killing other living beings. It's a living being, and being the one living being that has the voice, we need to be the voice for those who don't have it or who cannot speak for themselves. So yeah, and I really hope that I can come to ACF someday and actually hold a dog and get over this fear of mine. So that is one life goal of mine.
I will personally help you with that. So you will come by and we will make that happen. But just the fact that I like the fact that you are scared of them, but you're still saying you can't do this. This is ridiculous. That is empathy. That is empathy. So you should be really proud of yourself that you even think like that. So well done. And I really hope people follow your example and think like that. That is cool.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I hope this was helpful. I hope people like it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay. Before we go, I would like to introduce Adopt an Orphanage newest project, our very own website. On the website, you will be able to find insights on major projects that Adopt an Orphanage has done and how you could collaborate with us. We are very excited, and hopefully by the end of this summer, it will be released, and we can't wait until you guys see it.
Thank you for watching. This was Unscripted, and we're signing off.